Hi everyone, thank you for checking out the video today. Today we're going to go through a simple sourdough that you can do at home. One thing that's important is you will need a starter, and if you don't have one, it's very possible you have a friend that can give you some or a local bakery. And if you click in the link below, there is another video that you can go to on my channel that will show you how to put a starter together. So let's get started and excited.
One thing to note about your starter, those bubbles are the best signs that your sourdough starter is active. The bubbles are produced by the wild yeast and beneficial bacteria in the starter as they consume the flour and release carbon dioxide gas. The flour I like to use is King Arthur bread flour, which is 12.7 gluten forming protein. This is really good for creating the gluten and a good structure, especially for sourdough. I use 550 grams of bread flour for this recipe. Next, we'll add 12 grams of fine sea salt to the flour. We will take 345 grams of water. After the 345 grams of water, we will add 160 grams of starter. A good sign that this starter is ready to bake with is when it's floating in the water. This is perfect for sourdough. Next, we'll want to mix the starter and the water together, only for about 10 seconds. I'm using a Danish whisk, which is great, and we'll use it in the next step when we mix all the ingredients, but you can use a fork if you really need to. We're going to combine our wet ingredients with our dry ingredients, and we're going to use that Danish whisk and mix everything together. We want to get it shaggy. Again, you can use a fork. You don't need to have this whisk, but once we get it shaggy, we're going to put the whisk aside and actually dig in with our hands. We will mix these ingredients together for about 3 to 5 minutes till everything is incorporated. Once it's to a shaggy texture, we will use our hands and we'll use what we call a pinch method, just pinching everything together, any clumps, and making sure everything is incorporated. After about 4 or 5 minutes, your dough should look like this, and it will be a little bit sticky. We will cover it now and let it sit for about 30 minutes. Since your starter is one of your best friends when making sourdough, make sure you feed it, give it a little water, equal parts water, flour, mix it all up, and make sure it goes back to its home in the refrigerator. Really like to mix it up well. It's going to feel like this cake batter consistency. I scrape all the sides, just making sure it is fully mixed. Then I'll cap it, put it back into the refrigerator. Mason jars are great for starter. The rubber band there just marks the starter so I can gauge the rise. After it's been sitting for 30 minutes, we will start our first series of stretch and folds. It's very good to wet your hands. It will be a little sticky, and you want to make sure you grab underneath and pull from the bottom to the top. Do not stretch it too much. We do not want to tear this dough. We're just giving it a little structure and folding it lightly on itself. We'll do this in 4 turns, quarter turns. The reason for the stretch and folds is because we're building the gluten within the dough and giving it structure. Very important in the baking process. Once I am done with the stretch and folds, we will cover this and we'll let it sit on the counter for 30 minutes. Now we're going to repeat the process 3 more times. Each time we're going to do the stretch and folds, quarter turn each stretch and fold. And then once we complete that, we'll let it sit on the counter for 30 minutes. Again, we're going to do this 3 more times. While the dough is sitting on the counter for 30 minutes after the last stretch and fold, I am going to prepare the Banneton. This is something you can get on Amazon, and these are great when you're letting your dough sit in the fridge overnight or for several hours. I like to use white rice flour because it allows the dough to not stick to the Banneton. I use this flour duster, which you can get on Amazon, and it's a really neat tool, and I use it a lot. I will dust this white rice flour around the Banneton, and this will keep the dough from sticking to it after it comes out of the fridge. I'll use my little flour duster again with the bread flour, not rice flour, but the bread flour, and I'll just sprinkle it on the countertop. After 30 minutes of the last stretch and fold, I will pull the dough out and we'll get it onto the counter so we can begin to mold it. Before we form this dough, we're going to lightly stretch it out on the countertop. Now we're going to fold one side halfway over and the other side on top and lightly roll the dough. This is the start of the molding or forming your dough process. After the last stretch and fold, you're doing much more than just making it look really pretty. The main goal here is to create some surface tension. Think of it like stretching a balloon. As you gently pull the outer layer of dough tight around itself, you're creating a skin that helps the dough hold its shape and trap the gases produced during fermentation. Shaping it accomplishes a lot. Builds a surface tension. A tighter outer skin helps the loaf rise a little bit better. It holds the gas in, develops great oven spring, and it's going to produce a more attractive ear when we score it. What we're doing is just slightly pulling the dough backwards with our fingers and creating that tension. You will feel this as you do this yourself. It takes a little practice. Once we have the tension, we're going to pick up the dough and place it in the Banneton. You flip it over and lay it in, and we're going to tighten it up at the top as much as we can by pinching the dough together, and then we will cover it with the cloth that typically comes with all these Bannetons. Now we'll move it to the fridge and let it sit in there for anywhere from 4 to 12 hours. I've done it after 3 hours, and the bread tastes great, looks great, but the longer you let it sit in the fridge, that process, that fermentation continues on, and will give it a lot more flavor. The next morning, I pull this sourdough out of the fridge, and I am going to get ready to bake. You'll notice this sourdough sling. It is very useful. The sourdough sling allows me to get the sourdough onto the plate by flipping it so I can score it. Also, it's great when you put it into the Dutch oven. It helps it from burning at the bottom and also allows you to take the sourdough out of the Dutch oven because the oven is going to be extremely hot. I use this great little tool to score my sourdough. This is important. We need to do this. The sourdough is going to rise and it needs a place to expand. So we cut or slice into the bread to allow that expansion. You can use a razor blade. That is also something you can use. You could use a very sharp knife. I just like this tool because it allows me to make some designs and it's easy to use. These come in all different variations. My Dutch oven is preheated to 455 degrees, and you'll notice that baking sheet. You'll see what we use that for in a little bit. The Dutch oven is extremely hot, so using the sourdough sling is great for getting it into the Dutch oven. Remember that baking sheet I mentioned? Well, this is where it comes into play. I put about 3 or 4 ounces of water, maybe a little bit more, in there, and it helps give it some steam and some moisture and helps the bread bake. After 55 minutes, I'm pulling out the Dutch oven, and here is the sourdough. Looks great, nice golden color on the top. Using that sourdough sling to pull it over, and now we'll let it rest. I usually like to let it rest for at least 3 hours before I cut into it. When I first started making sourdough, I burned a lot of the bread on the bottom. I started using that sourdough sling, and it really does help. Everyone's oven is different. This is where the experimentation comes in and trial and error. So enjoy the process. This bread's been sitting on the counter now for about 12 hours, and it's time to cut into it. Here is loaf number 2.
And that's how you make sourdough. I can tell you this, it's going to take practice. It doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to be making perfect sourdough loaves right out of the gate. You might, but probably not. So take your time with it, enjoy the process. I will tell you this, any type of bread you make is going to be better than what you can buy in the store. It's going to taste great. It might not look perfect, but it will taste great. And take note of the temperature outside, the temperature of your house. Take note of the humidity outside. What's the weather like? Those all do impact baking, and especially with sourdough. So thank you again for watching, and look forward to the next video, and welcome to the channel.